Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about the accelerated medical coding programs. Can you learn medical coding in just a few days? Can you learn it in just a short couple of weeks? What is the deal here, Blue? Tell me about it. Okay. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. I have been a medical coder for over 10 years. I really love what I do. I love sharing all of my knowledge. And that is why I created my channel, to share my knowledge, to share the things that I know, and give you guys stories from what I've been through in this field. So hopefully it'll help you. So if you haven't had a chance to, I hope you'll subscribe. I hope you hit the notification bell so you can be aware anytime I post anything new. At the end, if this video helps you, I hope that you'll share it, and I hope that you'll give it a good thumbs up. So let's get started. Okay, so I've been getting so many emails about, hey, Blue, I want to do this really accelerated program that's just for a few days. Is it possible to learn medical coding this quickly? Is this a good deal? Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to hit this first with a disclaimer. I do not know anything about this place that does the accelerated programming, okay? In accelerated programming, meaning it's only a few short days course, okay? I've never been through it, so I don't know the curriculum, okay? That's first of all. Second of all, again, I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they're offering. I don't know what credentials or whatever the case may be. I don't know anything about that. I want to talk about, is it possible to learn it in just a few days? If you want my honest answer and my honest opinion, no, absolutely not. You cannot learn this in 3 days. You cannot learn this in 2 weeks. Medical coding is a commitment. And when I say commitment, you have to study. This is not something that you're going to learn overnight. And if anybody tells you that you can, they're wrong. Because the thing is, so many times like these accelerated programs are really teaching people to pass the certification exam, okay? And if they're teaching you just to pass the certification exam, which is a complaint that I get a lot of from viewers, they say, well, I just felt like I was taught to just pass the exam, and then now I'm out in the real world and I don't know what I'm doing. That's the problem. You don't want to get caught up in all that, because what's going to happen is you're going to get frustrated. So if you're being taught to pass the certification exam, yeah, you pass the certification exam. Okay, now what? Oh, now you got credentials. Oh, okay, cool. I should be able to get a job real easy with this, right? It's going to take more than a smile for you to get a job. Here's the thing. When you get your certification and you start to go out and you're applying for jobs and whatnot, they're going to give you an assessment test. They need to know what you know. And especially if you're a brand new coder, oh yeah, they're going to test you to make sure that you know. Even us veteran medical coders, we get tested too. And when you get tested, they start seeing, you know, what your knowledge base is. If you have never had a coding job before and you can't pass their assessment test, I guarantee you they're not going to call you. Or they're going to say, sorry, you're too new. We can't help you. Get some experience and come apply again. You know, that's part of it. And a lot of people get frustrated and think that medical coding is a scam, that I went to this school and I paid out all this money and I got my certification and now I can't even get a job. You can't get a job probably because you're not passing the assessment test, because you were only taught to pass the examination to get the credential, okay? There's a huge difference between being critically taught, like critical thinking, versus just, hey, pass your certification exam and then go find a job and be a remote coder and then make all of this money, and you see people with the dollar bills holding it all, smiling and everything. Come on, guys. Let's get a reality check here, okay? If you're trying to get into it because you want to be a remote medical coder, mazel tov. But you ain't going to get it if you don't have at least 3 years of experience. You have to have at least 3 years. And if you don't believe me, look at the listings for medical coders, for remote medical coders, and look and see how many years on average they're telling you that you need. That's number one. Number two, oh, you're going to make all of this money. You're going to make tons of money. And if you just do this really quick course and then do all this, and then you'll be on your way to making all this really good money. Guys, again, look at the Department of Labor or the Bureau of Statistics for what medical coders start out at in your area. Do not believe all the crazy claims that you hear, okay? It frustrates me to no end when I see people do that, because that's how they try to draw people in. This medical coding is a very complicated field. It is very, you have to be very studious to begin with, okay? Just to be successful in it. That's just the first thing. And the only reason that they make all of these claims up is because they want people to come in and they want people to invest their time in things. It is very difficult to get adults to get motivated to go to school, right? Because you're having to think. And then a lot of times there's people that they say, I have my kids, I have my husband, I have my wife, and I don't have time for this, so I don't want to do something like this. So they start to try to sweeten the deal and say all these things to try to entice people to study and get motivated to get into school. But to me, it's motivating people the wrong way, because you're making these claims that you're saying that you can do this, you can do that. Yeah, but you're not saying how they're able to do all of these things. They're not telling you that you need the 3 years. They're not telling you that every single place in the US is going to start the coders off at a different rate. They're not telling you that once you pass your certification exam and you have your certification, that when you go out in the real world, you're going to have to take tests every place you apply. And if you can't pass those tests, those assessment tests, those basic assessment tests that they give you when you are applying, you're not getting in. So that's the thing that you really have to think about when you're considering these accelerated programs. Well, I got caught up in this and now I'm stuck and I'm in it. Okay, if you're stuck and you're in it, then you got to make the best of it, okay? And what I mean by that is, then you got to study and get all the study materials that you can from this place. You got to try to get all the information that you can. Now, a lot of times the teacher is not going to be hands-on, because maybe this is a self-paced, or maybe this is we're going to give you all of this information and then you read it and you go on your own. So if that's the case, then again, get as much information as you possibly can and just try to make do with the best what you got. There are study prep books for the certification exam that you can get on your own. There's study resources on, I know on AHIMA, at the American Health Information Management Association, at ahima.org, and I will be leaving these links down in the description box below. They have a list of recommended materials for their certification exams. So if you are looking at AHIMA's credentials, then you can look, and see what they have to offer on there. As far as AAPC, I know they have exam prep guides for like $100, $99, something like that. But you can look anywhere. You can look on eBay or Amazon. You can type in the credential that you want to sit for and see what test prep manuals they have available. Sometimes they have the recent year, and sometimes they have like the year before. If you're trying to study with the year before books, you should be fine, because you just need to practice. But just know that if you have the current year books and you're trying to study with last year's study manual, that if they have the answers in the book, the answers may be off. That's the only thing. But for the most part, they are good practice. They're still really good. I've used books from the previous 2 years. You know what I mean? So that there's always that option. But yes, before you get taken, and before you get not taken as far as like, oh, we're just going to take you in and then that's it. Really ask them questions. If the credentials that they are offering, or they're saying that you can sit for after you've completed this program, they have to be with the American Health Information Management Association or the American Academy of Professional Coders. If it is one of these two associations, then you're fine. If it is something else, the National Health something or another, or Professional Healthcare, I don't know. There's too many of them. And I've been hearing all these weird names. If you want to be competitive as a medical coder, you need AHIMA or AAPC credentials, period. That is the only ones that they're looking for. And if you don't believe me, again, guys, you can look on the listings on Indeed. You can look on any Monster, any of the listings, and look and see what credentials that they're asking you for. Now, I will be talking about this again. Well, it's going to be advice to medical coding students. That's going to be Monday's episode. But if you don't get a chance to watch that, one of the things I am going to talk about is, if you are looking at these ads, like you're considering medical coding, and then you're looking at the ads and they all say that they want 1 to 3 years experience, do not let this deter you from starting to study this or pursuing it as a career. We all went through this as brand new medical coders. All of us. Why do they do it? I have no idea. If I had my way, I would be hiring brand new medical coders all the time. You know why? Because brand new medical coders are the most hungry. They're the ones that are going to try. They're the ones that are going to really dig deep. And if they're taught right, that would be my goal, is to make sure that brand new medical coders are taught right. They're taught to have critical thinking skills. They're taught how to do that interaction with providers. They're taught how to do interactions with each other, with their coworkers and things like that. That would be what I would do. But again, there's many reasons why we don't get hired right away, as far as like, you have to have all this experience. I don't know. I mean, the bottom line is I really don't know. But like I said, if I had my way, I would hire brand new coders, because you don't have old habits to break. Not that there's anything wrong with veteran medical coders. I am a veteran medical coder, okay? But there are some veteran medical coders that only spend their lives, their career lives, in one specialty. And I've met too many of them. They spend their entire careers in one specialty, and that's it. They don't know anything else. They just know that section of the book. They just know what the rules are for that particular specialty, and that's it. They don't know anything else, and they don't want to learn anything else. You can't do that. You really cannot do that when it comes to medical coding. You have to be willing to learn, and that is what it's all about. So my advice about these accelerated programs is, no. If you're asking me my opinion, no, you cannot learn this in just a few days. You cannot learn this in a couple of weeks. You need at least 6 months to learn. I learned it in 6 months. My program was 9 months, and I set a record for the school, and I made it out in 6 months. Some people, they study for just a few months, and then they take their exam because they've already had experience coding. They just need to sit for the exam. So there's a difference there. If you have absolutely no medical background, you're going to have to start from ground zero. You're starting from scratch. I started from scratch. Because I was far away from the medical field at all. I thought when I first heard about medical coding that it had to do with needles. That's how much I didn't know about the field. Now, I know a lot now because I continue to study, and I've devoted my life to learning. And I accept that. I accept that about this field. I accept it about being a medical coder, is that I'm going to have to study. This is not something that you can learn overnight like that. And you can't expect to learn it overnight like that. Even if you have a background in medical, I've gotten some emails from nurses. Oh, well, Bleu, I know all my medical terminology, anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology. I'll be able to learn this in a cakewalk. Okay. It still doesn't mean that you can pick up quickly the coding conventions and, all of the other rules that we have about coding, diagnosis coding, and procedural coding. Oh, yeah. And by the way, is it inpatient or outpatient that you're talking about? So I'm not trying to discourage anybody from wanting to do these really quick programs, but I'm just telling you, I'm just advising you that consider it carefully, because it is a lot of information to cram into a few days. And these programs are a pretty penny too. I mean, they're not cheap. But I'm telling you guys now, if you're asking me what school, what do I recommend? Which school do I recommend? Go directly to the association websites. And they both, AHIMA and AAPC, both have online medical coding programs that you can take. And AAPC, you guys, they are always having sales, constantly with the sales. Now, I am a HIMA member, but I will say that about AAPC. They are constantly having sales on their medical coding program. So if you're interested in that, check that out, okay? But again, if you are looking just to get into the field and you want to get in right away and you think you're going to make all this money, I'm going to give you a reality check right now. It's going to take work, and it's not going to happen overnight, and you're not going to be able to get in quickly unless they have some sort of placement program that they'll put you in that you can get experience or whatever. And some people are saying, oh, well, I was offered an internship, but I got to pay for this internship. Guys, you should never, ever, ever, ever pay for internship. Never. When an internship is when you are giving your time, essentially you may be paid little to no money, But you as a coder are not supposed to be out there paying money to get experience. No, I when I heard that, I was like, oh, oh my gosh, no, 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 no. Either you have no job or you are out there looking, okay? And medical coding jobs are listed differently. Sometimes they're listed as health information assistants, health information records or something like that. And then there was like medical records tech. It's not always listed as medical coders, okay? So just so you guys know, those entry-level positions are out there. You just have to know the wording, because the wording is what's going to throw you if you don't know, like, you know, how to look for a job. But that's just my advice to you guys. And I don't want to discourage anybody from getting into the field or looking into it or going into these programs, but I'm just advising you guys to ask all the questions. This is your money that you're going to be spending to go to these programs, or it's your name. If you're going through a program, it's your name. You still have to give something back into it. When I went through the WIOA program to get my schooling, I had to promise that I was going to get a job in the field that I was trained in. That was what it was, you know? And I didn't want to have to owe the state money. I wanted to make sure that I got a job. So I busted my tail trying to find a job. And it was very frustrating. But I finally did it. And, you know, it took me 2 months, you know, and some people scoff at that and say, oh, I've been looking for a whole year. I don't know your situation. I don't know how you're applying yourself. I don't know what your resume looks like. I don't know what you're doing when you're going in there, you're taking the assessments. I don't know, you know, but I know I worked really hard, and I'm sure everybody else worked really hard to try to find a job too. But again, if you're not passing your assessment, that could potentially have something to do with it. If you can't pass a background check, again, it's going to be something to do with it too. You know, you have to be able to pass a background check, like a criminal background check. You have to be able to pass a drug screen. You have to be able to pass the assessment, the initial assessment that they give you. And you have to be able to produce your credential and say that, yes, you have a valid credential. So there's a lot of things that go into it. And a lot of people, especially in these Viper Nest medical coding groups on Facebook, and I will say that, yes, because that is the worst place for new people to be, because I've seen and gotten too many emails from people. Well, Blue, I wanted to do this, but, you know, I went to this Facebook medical coding group. Oh, here we go. And they said that this and this and this, and they said, no. If you want to get information, you need to go to reputable resources. ahima.org, aapc.com, dol.gov, the Department of Labor, the Bureau of Statistics. That's where you need to go for your information, not Sue, Jane, and Sally's hearsay corner. You know, well, I say this and I say that. Because if I had listened to people when I was in school over 10 years ago, no. And I dug my heels, and I never listened to any of that garbage, because that's all it is just garbage. Oh, well, we're going to be taken over by artificial intelligence. Really? Over 10 years later, here I am. We're still here. Oh, well, our jobs are going to be sent all overseas. Really? I'm still here. So, and I've had this discussion before about overseas coding and things like that. It always comes back, because you have to have really good reading comprehension. You have to have really good reading comprehension. And when you have people who confuse cardiac lead and lead poisoning time and time again, that's fines, y'all. It's fines. So you want the accuracy in the coding. Okay, then you need to give it to somebody that can read it and apply the correct codes. This is why I tell y'all that even if you're a brand new coder, you got to study real hard. Study really hard, because when you are really high caliber, and when I mean high caliber, I mean somebody who has studied hard and understands the coding conventions, and even though you haven't been in the real world yet, you still understand them, you're on the right path. When you get it, you get it. And when you can adapt to different things that are happening, different places, and if they offer you, well, you know, what do you want to code? Anything, whatever you have available, I'll do. If you go in there fearless, that's another good quality to have. Okay, but I say that all the time. but really consider carefully these accelerated programs, okay? If you need a little bit more time, don't let them pressure you into say, oh, you know, you have to sign up within 2 days because we only have this special for a limited time. All of these trade school, all these online programs, they always constantly have sales. So don't let anybody tell you, oh yeah, you got to hurry up and sign up. Don't do it. Don't do it. Only go when you're ready, and only go at your pace, and only go with what makes you comfortable. If they start bashing other associations, get out of there, because that says something about the character of the school. If they have to bash other associations just to sell their school, that should be a red flag for you. If they're trying to pressure you to sign up within a certain amount of time, again, another red flag. And if they say, oh yeah, well, there's nobody on the internet that says anything bad about us, that's another thing that you need to be aware of. Just because they say that no one is saying anything bad doesn't mean that you can't do your due diligence and make sure that you're out there looking and making sure that this is something that you want to invest your time and money in. Because it is your time, your money, and your time away from your family. Okay, and don't think that you can just shortcut your way into learning this, because even when you get your credential and you're out there in the real world, now welcome to the big leagues, because now you have to really be passing these tests, these initial assessment tests. And I'm not saying this to scare anybody. Don't be scared by what I'm telling you. Just know that this is real talk, that this is the truth. And you know, some people may not be happy with what I say, but I mean, again, I'd rather you guys know the truth than to be out there and just, oh, well, no one told me and I didn't know. I told you. Now you know. Okay? So this is just my thoughts on it, and hopefully this should answer the question for a little while until I have to do this type of video again. Because I did do this video quite a while back. You know, of course, if you watch any of my videos from 2019, a lot of them were like, you know, the videos are not like this or the other way, because I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. But, you know, I'm getting better every time, so that's what I try to do. So anyway, but yeah, that's my topic for today. So I hope this helped. And again, this is just real talk, so anyway, but I will go ahead and wrap this one up. If you hope you'll join me on Monday, because again, it's going to be advice to medical coding students, and I hope you guys have a really good weekend. Thank you all for joining me this week. I really appreciate it. If you are interested in like quizzes and things like that, like coding quizzes, I do have them on my Patreon channel. It is just $1 minimum pledge per month. That is the lowest tier that I have is $1, but it gives you access to all of the coding quizzes and all of the breakdowns and everything else that I do on that channel. So I hope you'll join me there, and I will go ahead and wrap this one up. So if you are a medical coder, a medical coding student, somebody curious about the fascinating world of medical coding, a provider or a nurse, I invite you to like and subscribe and follow me on my journey in medical coding. I will see y'all next time. Bye.